Hello, everybody. Welcome to Press Box. John Carter tonight, and I'm with the cross-country team from St. Clair, Coach Jessica McDonald, Morgan Markle, Emmy Markath, and Alexa Landshut. And girls and Coach, thanks for coming by. Very nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
And Coach, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about your background. How long have you been doing this, and how'd you get into it?
Actually, this is my first year coaching. Joe Fouché was a coach prior to, and he's been the coach for probably, I'd say at least 15 years. He was gracious enough to kind of step down and handed the reins over to me, so I'm a newbie.
Well, this team has really done well this year,
Yes.
and tell us a little bit about your record and some of the great meets you've had already.
All right, we in our dual meets, we are undefeated, so we've beat every single team that we've come across in the MAC championship. We also just won the whole MAC championship. We just had a meet last Saturday, and we beat not only the teams in our division, but also all of the teams in the MAC, so that includes the bigger schools in the division above us. In terms of invitationals, the first invitational we won was Algonac. That was the first one I coached, and then we won the Harbor Beach one, correct? And the one we just recently had, the Metro Beach as well. And then we placed third in our division in Anchor Bay, which was two big schools beat us, the Grosse Pointe schools, and fifth at Holly, which is an enormous invitational.
Yeah, I think I've heard Holly's one of the toughest ones and the big one. And if you do well there, that usually means a pretty good thing. Well, let's go back to that MAC championship. Very nice article in the paper. Your team really did very well and finished very closely together.
Yes, we the girls have been working really hard, and John Davidson's huge about the working as a pack. The girls have been working really hard at staying together, pushing each other a little bit more. Like the freshman girls have been great about picking up what our leaders have been doing in terms of our seniors. So the meet on Saturday was a direct result of that pack mentality. Still a little bit shocked, a little bit stunned by the win, because we really thought that Romeo was going to win it for sure.
Yes, you beat all of the schools in the MAC,
which goes
all the way from really huge schools down to, I mean, we're kind of in the middle, I guess. So what was the course like? Why did you run so well?
It was a fast course, and it was very flat. It was cold, which is a huge, most people don't realize that as a runner, you really want the temperature to be 50, under 50. And so it was cold enough on Saturday that it was just perfect weather for a run.
No, that's great. That's really terrific. So, as many people in St. Clair, I've seen your girls running through the streets all summer long, it seems like. Tell us a little bit about the conditioning and the preparation that they have to do to be competitive.
Yes. They start really, when summer starts, they meet pretty much every day of the week, Monday through Friday. They do training all summer long, meet at 8 in the morning, so you're going to see them running around all summer long. And then by that time, when school starts and when season actually starts, they've got a good base. And from there, we just build up on the mileage. So it just goes from 3 and 4 miles to 5 and 6 and so on and so forth. And when season starts, we start doing what they all love, called speed work. It's the most torturous part about being a cross-country runner is the speed work, for sure.
So what's your background in running? Did you run it yourself?
I did not. I ran track in high school, but I was a sprinter, and I didn't start
so you helped with the speed work then.
Yes. I didn't really start distance running until probably about 10 years ago, and I run, marathons and half marathons, stuff like that, but I know I'm not nearly as fast as any of our girls are.
So tell us, how many miles do they typically put in the season, and maybe
on a normal week, it's about 40 miles is about average. So I guess if you multiply that out season-wise, it's a good deal.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you taper as you get to these big meets, or how do you prepare for a big meet?
Well, in terms of if you were John Davidson, you would just push and push and push and push, and so that's pretty much what we do. The goal is really, it's not the meets up until this point that are the important ones, as strange as that sounds. It's the regionals and the state finals are the ones that you're really training for. Okay. So you're really just pushing hard until you get to those meets.
So when did you know this team was going to be so good?
I knew right away. They came out at Algonac and it was just gangbusters. They wanted to win. I mean, I always said I wanted to win, and they were, let's jump on board.
So as a coach, do you set goals for the team, and can you share some of those?
They've already set their goals. They set their goals before I became coach. A lot of them were, winning the things that we've won. One of the big ones was getting all of the girls on the team to be under 25 minutes, and we're so close.
Okay.
We're so close. So I'm hoping this Saturday is the day that we actually accomplish that.
So what's your role? I mean, obviously, it's not like a basketball coach or a football coach. You call it timeout or you have a play. What do you see your role as a coach of the cross country team?
In terms of conditioning, it's really just about pushing them a little bit harder during their long runs, keeping them on task. During the speed work, I hate to say yelling at them, but it is basically a lot of screaming and encouraging.
Motivation.
Yes, that's a better way of saying it. And even at our meets, it's really important to try and be as many places as you can possibly be. So you'll see us running all over the place, trying to yell at them about, you're doing a great job. You got to catch that person.
Now, do you have game plans that the girls, for different girls? I mean, want you to run X, or this is the person you got to stay with?
And it's usually more along those lines. We do have some meets where there isn't anybody that you can stay with, like this regional that we have coming up. We have, like, our 1 and our 2, Morgan and Gabby are expected to be 1 and 2 in the region. So it's really just about pushing yourself, even though there's nobody there to.
Okay. It's more about the 3, 4, 5, stay up with the 1 and 2, right?
That's huge, yes.
And even 6, 7, 8, and so on. Great.
Yes.
So, but that's a good segue. Let's talk to the girls a little bit. Morgan, maybe start with you. And some of the same questions. How'd you get started running?
I just picked it up in 7th grade. It was one of the first sports available in middle school, so I was like, why not try it? And ended up loving it.
Why do you love it?
I don't know. It's like a team sport, but it's got a personalized approach, and it's really different.
Okay. Amy, what about you? When did you start?
I started in 7th grade as well. My sister did cross country, so that was a big factor into why I did it. And I ran with her when she was a senior and I was a freshman, so that was one of my favorite years for sure.
So Alexa, what's the best part, do you think, about running for the cross country team?
Honestly, I love how I love being with the girls and getting so close to them, because I didn't play a fall sport before, so I never got to do anything in the fall. So I just like being with them and how close we are. It's really fun.
I've always thought cross country running has got to be one of the toughest sports. It's very individualized. What's the hardest part for you, Morgan? What about you? What's something that really is difficult for you?
Really just pushing through when you're getting so fatigued. It's just the mental toughness, really.
Yeah. How about you, Emmy?
I would say the mental aspect. I don't know. It just runs you down a lot. It gets in your head, and you can't let it get in your head.
Right.
So
Alexa, how has cross country helped you, in school? I mean, has it helped you develop some of that mental acuity for being good at school as well?
Yeah, it just keeps me on task, I think, because I mean, when you have so much free time after school, I mean, I feel like it's a lot easier to just lay around and be lazy. But once, when you go straight from cross to a job to doing homework, I mean, I think it really keeps me on task. So
I've heard a lot of athletes say that you become good time managers.
Yes, definitely.
Because you practice, you have meets, and yet still have the other responsibilities you have to have, whether it's chores, homework, and so on. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about style of running. And in my mind, there's kind of one style would be someone who goes out hard and keeps that hard pace going all the time. And then there's another that kind of maybe depends more on her speed at the end to try to overtake somebody. Morgan, what about you? I mean, Coach said you're going to be, one of the top runners. How do you look at your style in terms of how you approach a race?
I mean, lucky for me, Gabby's always been faster than I am, so I always have her to gauge myself with and just try to hold on with her as long as I can.
Okay. What about you? I mean, do you come from behind, or you just like to go out on a steady pace?
I run with a watch so I can track my mile time. So I make sure that I'm keeping up with the normal pace, but then I try to pick it up on the last mile. Okay.
What about you, Alexa? Is your speed, or you more the consistent runner?
I definitely say I come from behind. I've been told I've got a pretty wicked kick at the end, because most of the time I end the race sprinting, actually. Okay. So I definitely say I was come from behind.
Okay. Do you guys play other sports at all? Do you run track, for instance?
I do basketball and softball.
Okay. All right, great. And I would expect at least cross country would help, particularly with basketball, right?
Yeah.
In terms of being in shape. You don't have to worry about the wind sprints early in the year.
It definitely helps when we have running during practice and stuff like that.
So, Coach was talking about keeping that pack and staying. Emmy, from your perspective, how do you stay tightly bunched? I know you're looking at people, but how do you keep that other runner from kind of insinuating herself in there?
It's hard because, you don't want to be the one to fall behind.
Right.
So I would just say the mental aspect of not being the one to fall off.
Yeah. How about you, Alexa?
I definitely say it's like the competition between the team because no one wants to be the last one in the pack, so everyone's always pushing each other to stay
That's
stay
great
together.
when you have, Coach, a team that has that kind of attitude. It really makes for good performance.
And it's interesting too because it's such an interesting dynamic in terms of you don't want to be the last person, and this is really your teammate. So it's strange to be competing in that style against somebody, but still almost rooting for them at the same time. So it's an interesting change.
So Morgan, you guys run lots of miles. What's in your head when you're running all those miles? I ask the same thing of swimmers because they're looking at the ceiling.
Yeah.
At least you're outside, you can look a little bit. But what do you think about, or what do you do when you're running like that?
To be running in a pack, sometimes we're running at a pace where we're able to talk with each other, so that helps to be able to conversate with each other. Sometimes a song will pop into my head, and that's pretty much it. Or I'll just think about school or stuff.
Okay. Do you have a song, Emmy, that you like that has a fast rhythm that keeps you going fast?
I don't. Usually I get annoyed when a song pops in my head because it just keeps repeating the same words over and over, so I try not to let that happen.
Is that true of you also, Alexa?
Yeah, sometimes the one that keeps reoccurring is Toxic by Britney Spears, and I don't know why, but I just keep thinking of it when I run.
So, Emmy, what's your favorite course of the ones you've run? Do you like flat courses or the hillier ones?
Oh, definitely flat. Definitely flat. I love Algonac. I've PR'd there every time I've ran there,
Okay.
so I love Algonac.
What about you, Morgan?
Either Algonac or probably Harbor Beach.
And they're both flat?
Oh yeah, very.
So what's tough about the hills, girls?
Oh man,
It's probably just like building back up after you
When you get to go down, though, right?
it's almost
right.
as bad because you're going fast down the hill.
Pace yourself when
Yeah.
you're going down the hill though, and stop yourself.
just pull so much out of you.
Yeah. So what is the toughest course you've run?
Warren Mott.
Warren Mott.
Warren Mott is mentally destroys you because it's 3 laps.
I'd
Oh,
say
yeah.
I don't like East China very much either.
Yeah.
That hill really gets me.
Yeah.
3 laps, a mile each. You're just passing the same points every time. You
So it's
can
boring.
see every
It's
lap.
really
It's so
boring.
boring.
We haven't talked about that, but cross country, as the name implies, you actually do get to go in different places, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you see things.
Yeah, running in the woods is
Yeah.
awesome.
It definitely helps.
Trails and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. So, what about the individual competitors you see? Morgan, is there someone you have your eye on? Now, Coach said, for the regionals coming up, you're going to be favored. But last week at the MAC, was there someone you really wanted to reel in that meet?
I was trying to keep up with Elizabeth. Do you know her last name? She's from Utica Ford. Pettibone.
Okay.
Yeah, Pettibone. She's good competition for me, and Gabby, of course, always. And then normal races, I'm usually right next to
Callie Townsend
Yeah, Callie
from
Townsend
Crosslex.
from Crosslex. Yeah.
Okay. So they can you can tell where you are when you see those. Yeah. Now, Emmy and Alexa, is there a team that you particularly want to beat? Is there a rival that you have?
I would say Regina. They've won regionals every year for I don't know how long. So and they're always the biggest competition there for sure. So
It'd definitely be nice to win this year.
Okay. All right. Good. So I wanted to ask, because again, going back to a lot of sports, there's pro athletes and so on, and people on TV and so on. Not so much true with cross country, men or women. So who did you kind of look up to or idolize when you were a kid growing up, Morgan?
There's I'm so bad with names, but from Crosslex,
Leo O'Connor.
Leo O'Connor. She started off.
She went to Michigan State, right?
Yep.
She was a steeplechase.
Yep, went to state. Now she's running professionally for Adidas, so that's really
So you saw her when you were a kid, did you?
yeah, just like stories from her at state.
That's neat. How about you girls? Did you have anybody that you really looked up to?
I mean, I looked up to my sister.
Okay.
I told myself I would never run. I watched her do track, the 2 mile, and I was like, I will never do that. That looks awful, but I did it, so.
Yeah, I was a sprinter to start off with, actually, so it was kind of different for me to join cross country, but I've always admired Morgan just because she's so motivated and always keeps such a positive attitude about it, so.
Well, that's another good segue, and be interested, the coach said you're the senior leadership on the team, right? You're all seniors this year, correct? And as captains, what do you do as captains to kind of help the younger girls? Is there something, whether it's starting in the summer, what do you do, Morgan?
During runs, whenever we're running in our pack, and we kind of see someone falling back, we always encourage them to stay up and just get back up with the group. And I remember at the beginning of the summer this year, I just thought about it, and I thought about how if I had the same mentality I did as a freshman as I do now, just wanting it when it's almost gone, I made sure to tell people about that.
And Alexa, is there something that you do with the younger girls that maybe is a little bit different than what Morgan does?
Well, I mean, if I know that they have more potential than what they're putting forth, then I'll definitely be like, hey, you know that you could be an A group, you could be pushing yourself harder, you could do so much better,
Okay.
Definitely.
How do you recruit them? How do you motivate them? I mean, getting up at, I don't know what time you get up in the morning to run in the summertime. How do you get some of the younger kids involved?
You just have to get them kind of excited, kind of push them to see what their potential is, what we could accomplish later in the season, and that helps a lot because when you're waking up at 8 in the morning to go run at the river, it's really hard in the summer, but if you keep thinking about what can happen later in the season, it definitely helps.
Yeah.
And you can see that now. You can see the younger
Girls are starting to see some of the success from the training and from the speed work, and you can see they're like, oh, okay, this is
what happens.
This is what happens, and there's a benefit to it.
Sure.
So that's the cool part.
Wanted to ask you, Morgan mentioned, how have you changed since you were a freshman runner to where you are now?
I would say I would tolerate pain a lot more. I mean, it's still, I don't let it get to my head as much, but.
I definitely say my mental game has changed because I'm just really good at distracting myself when I run now, so I'm not thinking about, wow, my knees really hurt. It's just.
So of the captains here, who's the one to do the tough love, to give girls maybe a little push in the behind if necessary?
That'd be Morgan.
Why is that, Morgan?
I don't know. I'm extremely motivated. I just really want to win just because it's crazy for me to see how well we're doing now. I would have never imagined it possible with our performance over the past few years. It's never even compared.
No, that's really neat. So you got a couple big meets coming up. Do you get nervous before the meets? What kind of goes through your head as you prepare?
I do. I think I get more nervous than they do.
I try not to let it get to my head, but a meet day, I'm very nervous, always.
I'm usually not nervous until I'm in the box, and I'm like, oh God, what am I doing?
I really used to get nervous, but now I just feel like before every race, we have this, we can do this, and it's just really settling to know that, but still I'm anxious to run, and I just want to run fast.
Maybe it's experience, right?
Yeah.
As seniors, you've been there, you've done it. What's the course you're going to run for the regionals?
Anchor Bay.
Okay. So you've run that already and you know it? So
We've run that a ton. We usually run it twice a year. So.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me a little bit about the kind of the routines or the rituals you do before you get ready to race. Alexa, what do you have to do before you the day of the race or before you race?
We definitely go out in a circle. We talk to coach, talk about who our main competition and who we should pace ourselves against for the race, just so we can know and not underestimate ourselves.
Right.
More
Do you have any individual kind of superstitions that you do, like wear your shoes tied a certain way, or really? No? None you want to talk about, or?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. All right. So who's going to be the competition at regionals then for you?
Regina.
Regina again? Mm-hmm. Okay. And they've won a couple of years in a row, so you're looking forward to seeing them then? Yeah, okay. So, Coach, back to you, and wait, before that, just go back. Morgan, you've had a very good senior year, and I saw the quotes and the coach and so on, but when did you start feeling you're getting pretty good at this?
I mean, my best year was freshman year, unfortunately, but like ever since then, I've just been trying to keep up the tempo and keep with it because I know I'm capable of being as good as I am. So.
And Emmy, do you have any individual goals that you had for this year?
My main goals were to get into the 21s, and I haven't gotten there yet. I'm close, but.
She's recovering from an injury.
Oh, okay. How about you, Alexa?
My goal was to break 22 and also to make it on varsity on my own. And
Okay.
made it, so.
Excellent. So, I always like to ask the team, does Coach have any superstitions, or are there any kind of funny things she does before meets that kind of get you motivated?
Not appropriate.
She always makes sure to
Pump us,
yeah. Before a race, we'll run out like 100 meters and we'll get in a circle and she'll give us some words of encouragement before we head out.
Yes, there are choices.
Sometimes they have to be, right?
Yes, they
Going
do.
back to that motivation thing. Well, we've talked a lot about it, Coach. Some big meets coming up. Tell us a little bit about the regionals and kind of your plans for it and how do you prepare for that meet?
Well, the preparation is very similar to the rest of the meets that we've been preparing for. We're not really treating it a whole lot differently. The course, like they said, is at Anchor Bay. Anchor Bay is a flat, fast course. As far as we know, they claim it's the right length, but it ran a little fast the last time we ran it.
You think it's too short?
We think it might be, but we're not real sure. Because otherwise, every single person on our team PR'd.
Okay.
Which isn't unheard of, but it's just so. I think we'll do. In terms of preparation, it's really they've already done all the hard work. Mm-hmm. So now it's just coming out and showing what you're capable of doing. I mean, just pushing yourself as hard as you can push.
Besides Regina, who else is in the region that is a concern?
Cross-Lex usually puts up a pretty good showing. Like Morgan was saying, Callie Townsend's tough to beat. I mean, she runs track too. She's a tough kid. And those are the two big ones. We're thinking that the top three go to states, and so I'm thinking it's probably going to be those three.
Okay, and then maybe explain that, how that works from regionals to states then.
So regionals, it's the top three teams that qualify at regionals go to states. And so states is the following weekend at Michigan International Speedway.
Okay, and I don't want to look too far ahead, obviously, as
Yes.
Coach, but tell us a little bit about what states happen. That's got to be an immense meet.
It is. I've never seen it.
Okay.
From my understanding, it is enormous.
It's crazy. The starting line is just full, and it's just. I think there's over like 200 girls in the race, or close to at least. But
What's different about a race like that with that many kids in it?
just knowing that.
Is it physical? I mean,
You're bumping into everybody.
Just knowing that you're with the best of the best is so intimidating. But then the start is insane.
Yeah.
It's like the fastest 800
And
ever.
you can't let it get to your head that there's so many people ahead of you, because that is the best of the best, and you're not going to be able to keep up with the people in front because obviously they're not at your pace.
Sure. So what you're saying is finishing, let's take a number, 40th in the state.
Yeah, that is not bad.
equivalent.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
The top 30 are all state.
Okay.
So if that gives you any kind of indication as to the competition that's there. And even if your team, like we're hoping that our team wins our regional, but even if we hadn't won, I think it's the top two.
Finishers?
No, it's 15. Top 15 go whether your team goes or
Okay.
not. So you could be number 15 and your team's not going and you're still going to make it to state. So even then you're getting all the fast kids.
Yep. Yep.
From all
even,
over the
even
area.
if the team's not very
Yes.
good, you still have the individual winners.
Yes.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you all coming in. This has been a very
Well, thank you.
interesting interview, and best of luck both next week and the following week. We're really watching you, and you guys have done a great job so far.
Well, thank you. Thank
All right,
you.
everybody, this is John Carter saying goodbye from Press Box, and we'll see you again next week.